A cold voice spoke from the crowd. This is what happens when you let a girl from the slums of Lagos mix with rich and important people like us. Simi's stomach sank, while she saw the angry looks aimed at her and heard whispers all around. She didn't know what she had done wrong, but the stares felt heavier with every second. Something was very wrong. Simi's heart pounded in her chest as she stood at the massive gates of Green Hill Academy. It was the kind of school you only see in movies, with its high gleaming walls and perfectly trimmed lawns. To her, it felt like entering a different world, a world where the children of the rich and powerful played and studied. Simi, on the other hand, was from the other side of Lagos. She lived in a small one-bedroom apartment with her mother, who sold akara by the roadside. Getting into Green Hill Academy was nothing short of a miracle. She had passed the entrance exams with the highest score and was granted a full scholarship. But while the scholarship opened doors to the prestigious school, it didn't change where she came from. She clutched her bag tightly, adjusting her worn-out sandals as she took a deep breath and walked inside the school compound. The other students strolled by in expensive shoes, their faces buried in the latest smartphones. Simi had never felt more out of place. Right from the beginning, Simi knew she was different. While other students came in chauffeured cars and wore designer shoes, Simi was content with her neat but simple uniform and her worn-out bag. Her head was filled with dreams of success, but the students of Green Hill Academy weren't interested in her intelligence. All they saw was a poor girl who didn't belong in their world. "Look at her shoes," a high-pitched voice rang out from behind Simi as she tried to find her way to her first class. It was Grace, the most popular girl in school, with her group of fashionable followers. Grace had always been the queen bee of the school, her father being a well-known politician. And to her, Simi was just a stain on the pristine reputation of Green Hill Academy. "Is this what scholarship students wear these days? What a cheap girl, so cheap," her friends chorused. Grace's and her friends' loud voice echoed as they laughed, pointing at Simi's worn sandals. Simi felt her face flush with embarrassment, and she tried to ignore them and quickened her steps. But Grace and her crew followed closely, hurling more insults. It was a game for them. Everywhere Simi went, they were there, ready to make her life miserable. One afternoon, after weeks of enduring Grace's bullying, Simi found herself in the school library, seeking solace in the world of books. She was lost in the pages of a novel when she heard someone clear their throat. She looked up and saw Dakpo, the Prince of Green Hill, standing in front of her. Now, Dakpo wasn't just any student. He was the most admired boy in Green Hill Academy. Tall, with smooth skin, sharp features, and always well-dressed, he was the kind of boy that girls like Grace would fall over themselves for. He came from an extremely wealthy family, and even though he could have been arrogant like the others, he wasn't. "Hey, you're Simi, right?" he asked, his voice calm and soothing. Simi blinked, surprised that someone like Dakpo even knew her name. "Yes, that's me. I've seen how Grace and her friends have been treating you. It's not cool at all. Don't let them get to you," he said, his eyes showing genuine concern. For a moment, Simi felt her chest lighten. No one had stood up for her since she came to the school. And here was Dakpo, the most popular boy, offering kindness. She smiled slightly. "Thank you. I try to ignore them, but it's hard." "Well, you won't have to do it alone anymore. As I've got your back," Dakpo said with a wink, before walking away. From that moment, things began to change. Every time Grace or her minions tried to harass Simi, Dakpo would appear, his presence alone silencing their taunts. Word spread quickly around the school that Dakpo had taken an interest in Simi, and no one wanted to mess with her anymore, at least not when Dakpo was around. As time went on, Simi and Dakpo became closer. He wasn't just a protector, he became a friend. They would often meet in the library discussing books, music, and their dreams. And Dakpo was drawn to Simi's intelligence and simplicity, something he found refreshing in the superficial world of Green Hill Academy. One day as they walked together after school, Dakpo stopped and turned to her. "Simi, I've been thinking," he began, his voice a little hesitant. "About what?" Simi asked. Looking up at him curiously, Dakpo took a deep breath. "You're special. I mean, really special. I've never met anyone like you before. I think I'm falling for you." Simi's heart skipped a beat, as she had never imagined someone like Dakpo would see her that way. Dakpo, you don't mean that. I'm not like the girls you're used to. Dakpo smiled, his eyes soft and sincere. Exactly, that's why I like you. You're real, Simi. You're not pretending to be someone you're not. Simi blushed, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. And for the first time in a long while, she felt truly seen. Of course, word of Dakpo's growing affection for Simi didn't take long to reach Grace's ears. Furious, Grace was determined to make Simi pay. How could someone like Simi, a poor scholarship student, win the heart of the most desirable boy in the school? One day, while Simi was at her locker, Grace approached her, a fake smile plastered on her face. Oh, I see you've been spending a lot of time with Dakpo. Enjoy it while it lasts, because you're nothing but a charity case to him. Simi tried to walk away, but Grace blocked her path. You think someone like Dakpo would actually fall for you? Please, you're just his little project. Those words stung more than Simi wanted to admit, but she kept her head held high. I don't care what you think, Grace. A Dakpo sees me for who I am, not what I have or don't have. Grace's smile faded, replaced by a cold glare. We'll see about that. Grace was determined to prove that Simi didn't belong at Green Hill Academy, especially by Dakpo's side. She was convinced that if she made her plan dramatic enough, Simi would have no choice but to disappear in shame. The perfect opportunity arrived at Green Hill's annual gala, a night when students, parents, and school staff gathered for a grand evening. Grace waited until the event was in full swing to spread her vicious rumor. It started as a whisper, weaving through the crowd. Simi wasn't just using Dakpo for his money, she had been caught on camera with another boy. Within minutes, a video circulated on the students' phones, showing a girl who looked very much like Simi, in an intimate moment with an unknown boy. Although the lighting was dim, the resemblance was close enough to cause a stir. A cold voice spoke from the crowd. This is what happens when you let a girl from the slums of Lagos mix with rich and important people like us. Simi's stomach sank. She saw the angry looks aimed at her and heard whispers all around. She didn't know what she had done wrong, but the stares felt heavier with every second. Something was very wrong. Simi stood alone in the corner, still unsure about what is going on. Confused and increasingly uncomfortable, she felt her cheeks burn as the rumors reached her ears. Just as she was about to leave the gala in humiliation, Dakpo appeared at her side. Are you okay? He asked, immediately sensing her distress. Simi bit her lip, struggling to find words. There's a rumor going around. People are saying that I'm using you and that there's a video of me with someone else. Dakpo's face tightened as he listened, but his eyes softened as he took her hand. Simi, listen to me. I don't care what anyone says. I know who you are, and I know the truth. As Simi looked at him, relief flooded her. But before she could respond, Grace strutted over, a malicious smile plastered on her face. Oh, Dakpo, there you are, Grace sneered, glancing at Simi with fake sympathy. I was just telling some people the truth about your little girlfriend here. It's a shame, really. Dakpo's face hardened. Grace, I'm tired of your nonsense. Grace laughed lightly, raising her phone to show the video playing on the screen. Are you saying you don't recognize your precious Simi? A few curious onlookers gathered around, and Grace's friend smirked in satisfaction, waiting for the fallouts. But Dakpo remained calm, his eyes fixed on the video. He noticed something Grace had overlooked, a small birthmark on the girl's neck. Simi didn't have a mark like that. It was a look-alike, not Simi. Keeping his expression steady, Dakpo pulled out his own phone. A few days earlier, he'd come across a clearer version of this same video on a social media account from another school. In it, the girl's face was fully visible, undoubtedly not Simi. Dakpo tapped a few buttons and played the video loud enough for the onlookers to hear. In this clearer footage, the girl's face was unmistakable, and Simi's innocence was immediately clear to everyone present. Dakpo looked at Grace, his voice steady but sharp. You thought this would work? Simi is more real and honest than you could ever be. Grace, leave her alone. The crowd, now murmuring about Grace's failed scheme, watched as her face twisted with rage and embarrassment. Unable to come up with a response, she quickly backed off, her plans ruined and her reputation stained. As the scene unfolded, Simi realized that Dakpo's faith in her had never wavered, and that everyone at the gala could see the truth. The scandal Grace had hoped would ruin Simi only strengthened the bond between Simi and Dakpo. proving to everyone present who truly belonged by his side. Dakpo took Simi's hand and led her to a quiet spot. For the first time that night, he was able to see her clearly. She looked breathtaking in her beautiful dress. He was glad the salesperson had shown him that dress and that he had followed his heart by buying it for her. He knew that if Simi found out how much the dress cost, she would have refused to accept it. He looked lovingly at his Simi, but he noticed she was still shaken by the events of the night. He opened his arms and she easily stepped into them. He held her as she quietly sobbed, gently patting her back and reassuring her that everything was going to be okay. His heart ached to see Simi, who he had always known to be strong and unfazed by anything, in such a fragile state. He then silently made a vow to himself. He would spend the rest of his life protecting her. Simi, on the other hand, was grateful for the strong support Dakpo had been for her. She marveled at how someone with his looks, family wealth and status could be so genuine and loving. Sometimes she thought he might just be a fragment of her imagination. Her heart was bursting with all the love she had for him, so she poured every bit of her feelings into that hug, hoping he could feel the depth of her love for him. The moon and the stars shone brightly that night, as if in approval of their love. After that night, things changed for good. With Dakpo by her side, Simi's confidence grew. Grace's reign of terror slowly faded as she realized she could no longer control people the way she used to. Simi focused on her studies, and with Dakpo's support, she began to thrive in Green Hill Academy. Their love blossomed, much to the envy of some and the admiration of others. Simi and Dakpo were inseparable, not just as a couple, but as best friends who understood each other's worlds. In the end, it wasn't about money or status. It was about two people from different backgrounds who found each other in a world that didn't think they should be together. Simi's journey from being bullied to finding love and confidence was a reminder that no matter where you come from, you can rise above it all with the right people by your side. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share. Don't forget to comment and let me know where you're watching from so I can give you a shout out in my next video.